Hello everybody, and welcome to the new set. While I still have some unpacking and definitely some decorating that still needs to get done, I can at least start using this set for its intended purpose as I start dealing with, that! So I promise that everything you're looking at right now will be more detailed and prettier as time moves on. But for now, let's move into our main topic for the day, Dora the Explorer. Dora was an educational TV show that premiered on Nick Jr. in the year 2000. Since then, she has become a cultural icon. The series has become one of the most successful children's franchises, leading to spin-offs, stage adaptations, books, and even video games. No. At the turn of the decade, though, the series started to dwindle in popularity, with its spin-off Go Diego Go being cancelled in 2011, and the sequel series Dora and Friends Into the City having a lot of controversy over Dora's tween-age redesign and the show losing the spirit of the original series, leading to it being cancelled in 2017. And that leads us to our newest piece of Dora media, Dora and the Lost City of Gold, aiming to bring our little exploradora to the big screen. And you know what? It was a lot of fun! I'm not saying it's anything great or anything, but it's a really enjoyable film for people who grew up with the show. Dora came out right at the tail end of that phase for me, so while I did watch her growing up, it really wasn't for long. But I always did appreciate the structure and the style of the show, and the characters were interesting enough to not keep you bored while watching. And how fun the characters are is really not something lost in translation for this movie. What makes the movie as enjoyable as it is Isabella Moner's performance as Dora herself. She plays Dora pretty much exactly how she is in the cartoons, and it makes the movie so damn wacky. All of the important foreshadowed elements are presented to the audience in the same style as Dora pointing out something in the TV show, but rather than her talking to the audience, it's her looking into a GoPro. It is a weirdly perfect translation of the quirks of the show to a more realistic context. And it also doesn't discount the events of the TV show by framing those as a game that Dora and Diego played while they were growing up. If this movie was Dora going on this Indiana Jones-esque quest with just boots, I feel like it would have worked out extremely well. However, the movie doesn't want to do that right away. It takes the character out of the jungle and into high school, and you know what? That could be a great movie in itself too. This cartoon character in a regular high school would be hilarious, like Mean Girls but a bit more cartoony. But instead, the movie uses this as an opportunity to introduce characters for an adventure they really have no part of. Sammy and Randy are really out of place in this movie. It feels like the writers didn't think that there would be enough tension and story if they didn't involve characters that were completely divorced from the situation at hand. I understand their role in the story is to give Dora this connection back to her high school life, but do you know where she already had that? Diego? I am fully invested in the relationship between Dora and Diego because they have this connection that runs so deep in the story of the movie. Him thinking that Dora is embarrassing is relatable, tragic, and heartbreaking. Snobby valedictorian being mad Dora is smarter than her is just boring. It doesn't fit this goofy world that the movie wants to be the focus of this story. If the film focused on the adventure with just Dora, Diego, and Eugenio Derbez, then I think a lot of what did not work in this movie story-wise would be fixed. Ironically, the main issue the movie has is how immature it is. Like, I get it, I'm watching a kid's movie, I'm not the target audience, but the movie gets so close to being a film that can be enjoyed by both adults and kids. Like, if they actually bothered to write stuff that is funny rather than letting their unfunny actors chew the scenery, I feel like it would have gone a long way in making the movie more enjoyable. There are just so many scenes that let the actors go on and on thinking that it would be funny, but any jokes that did work at first stop being funny and just become annoying if you keep them going for over a minute. The major issue that I think studios and even audiences have is mistaking a funny script for a funny actor. For example, let's take a look at Michael Pena. Michael Pena was one of the best parts of Ant-Man. His delivery was on point, and the dialogue he has takes advantage of what makes him enjoyable to watch on screen. But the delivery is only half of what makes it work. He actually had to be given the dialogue so that he could breathe life into it. In this movie, it's almost like they expect him to ad-lib a joke because he is Michael Pena and he's supposed to be funny. But with no dialogue and no direction, his idea of a joke is pretending to do dubstep for over a minute with no interruption or punchline. Honestly, same with Eugenio Derbez. Almost every joke with him involves him running around screaming and hitting the scenery for an excruciating amount of time. His performance here is pretty much as bad as it was in Overboard last year, with all the same problems with that movie carried over. The scale of the movie is also one that led to a lot of problems. It was obvious from the beginning that the movie really did not have a large budget. let's just say that Swiper and Boots are much closer to a Sonic than a Pikachu. Whenever they were in a scene, they looked so out of place. It was extremely uncanny, and they never felt like they belonged. And whenever there was a shot that included a set made of CGI, it was noticeably fake, which sucks because a lot of the practical set design was really well done. I feel like the movie would have benefited immensely if Swiper and Boots were trained animals on set, making the characters' reactions to what they were doing more realistic and saving money on some animation. But speaking of Swiper, he just had no role in the movie and just made it more confusing. The movie established that what we saw in the cartoon was sort of their own little imagination and drugs. So does Dora already have a history with Swiper? Why is he working with the mercenaries? He is so out of place in the role the movie gives him, and I think it's a waste of a great actor portraying him. I feel like he would have been a stronger character as a third party attempting to get to Barabata rather than the role he had here. Also, to make him and Boots look a lot less out of place, let me refer you back to my Detective Pikachu video. With all the Pokemon in the movie, even when there are bad special effects here and there, the amount of Pokemon made the CGI look like an aesthetic to the entire movie. But Swiper and Boots look completely out of place, along with whenever they needed to rely on computers to enhance scenes. Dora is known for having numerous animal friends on her adventures, so why not have them included here? Then that would help us understand Swiper's relationship with our leads. It would give you more animals to create with CGI and lead to a more cohesive aesthetic rather than just throwing in random scenes whenever the budget allowed. So, do I recommend Dora and the Lost City of Gold? You know, despite everything negative I have been saying about it, I really do. Despite how bad a majority of the movie is, there is this air of fun to everything that it does, especially if you grew up with Dora in some capacity. Isabella Moner's performance always keeps you invested to keep going with how positive she is and how much of a presence she gives the character. And there are a lot of moments that really do work in this movie and keep it interesting. There is a skeleton of an excellent kids movie in here that's just bogged down by people who are too afraid that anything intelligent in the movie would just alienate all the kids in the audience. Which is honestly insulting to the source material, if you ask me. While Dora was made for the childrenest of children, it never assumed that the audience was stupid. It let them figure everything out for themselves and think everything through rather than just dangling keys in front of their face for 11 minutes like a majority of other kids shows. It taught critical thinking and problem solving along with some good life lessons without ever coming off as preachy or annoying. The loud, obnoxious flow of the comedy goes against the ideal the original show had in favor of trying to keep kids distracted for an hour and 45 minutes. But do you know how else you keep kids interested for that long? By not treating them as idiots. And that's what I thought of Dora and the Lost City of Gold. I want to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment down below telling me what you thought of the movie. And if you want to see my thoughts on movies and other video games, then please click that playlist right over here so you can see my other stupid opinions. And please subscribe so you know whenever I post a new video. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.